everybody. Welcome back to another Mindful Mental Breakdown on Mindfully Chaotic. I'm Amanda Marie here with Christina Murphy, and we are doing another new thing where we're now not even committing to any specific thing, whether it's weekly, daily, or whatever. We are literally just doing these at random whenever we feel called to and whenever it resonates. With that being said, I know exactly what I want to break down right now, which is very strange. Usually, like, everything I do is very impromptu and in the moment, but I've known, this has been bugging me. And I told Christina that I knew what I wanted to talk about, but I didn't tell her what it was yet because I wanted to save whatever comes out for you. So what I want to break down today is tradition.
Okay.
What is up with that?
Well, in what context?
Okay, so let me get into this. I grew up, right, like, with, you know, family, like, doing things, like, traditionally, whether it's holidays, whether it's, like, back to school stuff. And I'll admit, like, I definitely appreciated that as a kid. I enjoyed it a little bit more. But the older I got, the more I'm realizing that, like, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves with tradition. Right. Like, today was first day back to school. We both have babies that went back to school. And one of the things that stuck out to me today was the anxiety that I felt about having it look like the expectation that I set of what it should look like. Like, what did we do last year the night before? What did we do in the morning? What should I do when I pick them up? And I realized that, like, it takes away, though, from the actual experience because you're stressing what it should look like. So do you think there's a fine line between, like, what we've allowed tradition to become in our society, like, versus, like, the possibility of still having, like,
new experiences?
Yes, exactly.
Well, I don't like to follow rules, so I am not a traditions person, but I also am at the same time. And I think what we can do now is, because of the space that we're in, instead of, like, rejecting that and causing the stress, like, focusing in on what your child wants, like what they want, instead of pushing it onto them so they have these expectations, so then the next year they might be disappointed, of, like, making it the tradition of, like, where are we in our lives right now, because that switches every year. It's nice to say so-and-so has Christmas Eve, but then it's all the pressure of, like, we're doing a grab, we're doing this, you have to do all of these things, you have to bring this meal you have to bring this, you're in charge of this. Which is okay if that's what you want to do, but if you don't want to do that anymore, why are we doing things we don't want to do anymore?
Yeah, like the holidays. The older I get, the holidays have started becoming so stressful.
I don't participate.
No, and I used to love them so much, and it's like, okay, maybe that's a part of just getting older. It's more magical when you're a kid, and the older you get, there's more responsibilities and help. It's now on us to help create the magic for other, like, generations. But also, like, why? Like, why did we put it on us to create the magic for everyone else and not for ourselves? Like, why are we not putting ourselves in a position where we're all actually comfortable and happy with how we're celebrating in alignment with where we are in life?
Unless you're that person that enjoys that. I have a friend that really does. She loves to host. She loves to cook. Like, people come to her. We do it for, like, our children that are together. And she truly loves that, where that would send me into a psychosis of shutting down and being like, absolutely not. So I have made it the tradition on Christmas Day, I don't do anything. I don't get out of my pajamas. If I want to go somewhere, I'll go. And if I go somewhere, it'll be in my pajamas. And there's not pressure. I do have a tradition of Christmas Eve, but it's also not pressure. Like, do a grab, don't do a grab. Do you want to do this? Come. It's bring something. Come whenever you want. So it's not this, like, you have to be here, and I cannot and I will not, and I stopped participating in the going to multiple people's or families or places on Thanksgiving, or rushing back and forth, because why am I spending my time doing that? Unless you like to do that. But I would say 95% of people don't enjoy doing that, and they're always like, well, now I have to go to this one, and I have to check this box, and I have to sit over here, and I have to put on a smile. Why? It's your holiday too, with your children or your family, or if you're single, it's your holiday as well. Like, it's time off. Do whatever you want with it.
And we live in a world where, unless there is a holiday, we don't even take time off. Right. So at the very least, we should be giving ourselves, like, a break. But instead, I feel like we make it more stressful. And this goes for the holidays, any type of special events. Do you know how many people feel sad on their birthday?
Yeah.
Like, that is so common for people to feel like genuinely sad.
Disappointed.
Yeah, because it's like you feel like you should be doing something like more than what you are. You feel like you got to make it a big thing. You know that there's 24 hours,
but
and it's
also
over.
don't make it too much of a big thing.
Exactly, right? You don't want, you got to find the balance. It's stressful.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm realizing that, like, I mean, because my son, he's in first grade this year, but last year going into kindergarten was a very interesting transition for me because, you know, as a single mom, so many people were like, well, you know, when you go, because it's like navigating how to have a work life and a family life as tough as it is.
Yes.
And everyone's like, oh, when they go to school, I realized that became more stressful for me because, you know, you want to be a part of your children's life. And there's so many things going on, and it's so hard to fit them all in a day. And then you feel guilty because you're like, oh, I feel like I'm supposed to be at this. I feel like I'm supposed to do it that way. I don't want to let anyone down, especially when it comes to my child. Like,
but it's also, we don't, in society standards, and I do think it is getting better in a way, but also worse in a way of like, okay, well, you're supposed to be a mother. You're supposed to work a 9 to 5. You're supposed to be at every game, every activity, pick them up, drop them off. So how are we doing all of these things? Cook dinner, take care of yourself, go to the gym. They have to be clean. They have all of these things. But then we're having zero time with our children or zero time. And I'm gonna say this out loud.
that's what it is.
And I'm gonna say this out loud. I never spent more time with Layla than during COVID.
Yeah.
And I didn't hate it.
Oh.
I was like, this is the first time I've actually been home with her to enjoy things and not out the door at 6 a.m. and home at 7 p.m. And that was my schedule 5 to 6 days a week.
You know what? I know that the pandemic was like a very chaotic time. It was very sad. There was a lot of like heaviness and things going on, but I believe that this is actually more common of a feeling than a lot of us want to let on, because I agree. We got to slow down. I mean, not for nothing. People were even like kind of coming together as a community in like Facebook groups and on TikTok
and like actual like FaceTiming,
and
like
Zoom, like you actually would talk and catch up. Like, not for nothing, I had like virtual paint nights with one of my closest friends who I roomed with in college. She lives in Texas.
Yeah,
so
we do games.
And why don't we don't do that though?
No, because we're too busy.
Yeah, like, and I also had groups of friends, like, you know, from like when I was younger, we all met at game nights, like you said. We did that virtually. It was so easy to put together, but we can't just do that.
I just had an idea.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I love it because I know. I know what you're thinking.
Okay. But I need to put it. I'm gonna put it in the notes.
Write it down.
I will forget.
Write it down because I knew exactly where you're going with that. But you know, I think that that's kind of what I'm getting at too. To your point, is like that's what makes the tradition feel so stressful, is how overcomplicated it is.
Right.
Because if it was just like the simple tradition of like, you know what I mean? Like, I really enjoy that. For the last couple of years, I had a book that like kind of that I could read to Sal the night before school. Like, 'twas the night before kindergarten, 'twas the night before first grade. Like, I don't know how far those books go and if they're even how many of them there even are, but like I like the idea of reading to him the night before, as long as he likes that too.
Right. It doesn't have to be at night. It could be during the day.
Exactly.
You could wake up that morning and do it, kind of like allowing that flexibility. Where
I'm glad you just said that.
Where we're starting school before Labor Day, which feels illegal and makes me so enraged. And if I did not have a senior, I would lose my damn mind.
The funniest part about you saying that is
because it's summer.
Yeah, and I opened Facebook earlier today, and you have no idea how many of the parents from Sal's school, their status was like, this should be illegal.
Yeah.
Like, this should be, like, we all agreed this should be illegal. Like, petition to start a law now to not allow us to go back to school before Labor Day.
It's wild because it's like, we're, again, checking a box off to fulfill a standard.
Because we need to have a certain amount of days.
Right. And again,
and funny enough, we're also honoring a lot of holidays, which is why we have so many extra days off. But why does why is doing one have to mean we can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's only one or the other.
Better make it up.
So we can't honor holidays and still like have a reasonable amount of time off? Like, because we need to have 180 days of what? How many of those days, not for nothing,
are productive?
Do you know how many teachers I have that are like friends that I have that are teachers that like admittedly, and they're great teachers, and they admit to how many days you sit there like just like literally watching a show, watching a movie, like no shame either, because there's only so much you can do, and there's also so much you can take with all the different energies that are in a room, and some days might need to look a little different. Like, some days you might need to literally just sit there and be like, I can't, like, you know what, especially those with the younger kids.
Yeah.
But also, that's not fair to take away from the older kids either, because even as adults, there are some days that
you just can't.
Exactly.
But how about
and we're not allowed that choice though to be
Layla
able
going
to say
to
that.
school after she turned in her Chromebook for 3 or 4 days after? I was like, you don't have to
what
go.
even
Don't
is the
go.
point of that? Like they
your,
don't even
your
have
Chromebook
like
is already in and you're just sitting there.
so you're
Again,
clearly not doing
you're
work.
trading your time to check a box off, and I do not believe in that.
And we're like training the children to do it that way. They go through life like just like content with doing this and being complacent.
And then they get to our age and want to undo it and crawl out of their bodies and their skin, and it's like we feel like we are doing the wrong thing, or like not being productive enough, or our nervous systems are like wild. And like even when it was the slow down time, I've never been more anxious. When it was during COVID, my body was like, what is this? Like I couldn't, my sleep was so irregular, like I was,
because
and
it feels
again
weird.
this right, and it was again responding to whatever was going on, the unknown, but still loving the time that I was spending with my child. But my body didn't know, like I was no lie, I would have out of my house at 6 a.m. and not home until 7 p.m. sometimes, or maybe leaving even before 6 a.m. like that is a long time to be going consistently, like every single day. And now I'm like,
and there's
like
still
rejected.
not enough time to do all the things that we're expected to do within that. That's what's like wild.
And so now that's why I feel like I reject so many of the things. But the other part of it is like, oh no, I am in this space now that I don't have to move that fast, and inviting the slowness in, but also that doesn't feel safe to me right now, but reminding myself that it is
well
safe.
We have to learn that. That's the thing. It's kind of like that little blurb I actually said last night, there like that little dancing song that I shared, where I was just like, sometimes we gotta celebrate like the little wins, like blah blah blah, but to turn that to what we're talking to right now, it's like just because you don't do something all the time doesn't mean you can't do it sometimes. So we maybe not be in a place to fully accept the reality of like setting things up in the way that works for us, and like following like the natural way we would like we feel like we have to confine to society because we have to survive. So it's like getting used to those little moments, because it's like you're saying you don't feel safe. Like a lot of people don't. A lot of us do not when it comes to resting, relaxation. We feel guilty. We feel anxious. I'm like in fight or so sometimes you would think sometimes when I'm laying on the couch watching something that a pack of cougars is chasing me.
Yes.
Like it doesn't make any sense, and it's because I feel like there's so much that has to get done. And I think that's where it comes to the just taking little steps at it.
Right.
Like we may not be able to right now, like the goal is to eventually have that be like the reality, but maybe for now it's the learning how to sit with the discomfort even for little bits at a time. Like even if like let yourself be a little bored, because maybe that's why do we feel like rest is boring? Like why do we feel like rest is unproductive? Our body needs rest to be productive.
That's right.
Yet we feel like it's unproductive when we rest.
Right, and then we're not doing anything, like we're doing little bits and pieces and still not completing anything or even making the progress that is needed even in those small tasks. But I think that's like really important, like moving into, our retreat and our weekend that we have is like we're going to help people create that safe space that they can rest and that they can say, hey, I don't want to do this meditation, I don't want to do these activities, but I do want to stay in my bed, maybe read a book or go for a walk on my own, or I do maybe they want to be off in a kayak. They have the choice, but we will hold the energy and help their nervous system feel safe enough to just be.
And let's be completely real, because that's what this is all about. We need that just as much, because it's the accountability. It's in order for us to give ourselves what we like. Everyone's different in their way of like how they process things, how they just in general. Like everyone's different. I won't even get into the list of all the things we're different about. But like when it's all said and done, I know for us, like a lot of times we need to be physically out there doing the work and sharing it to also remember for ourselves like how true and real it is. And I think that's where everything falls into, but that's the other thing. It's like it's just little steps. It's just doing it and allowing ourselves to be like, okay, like I did this and it was actually a really nice time and I actually feel safe. Like we can do that in little ways too, like even with like allowing ourselves like
to say no.
Yeah, to say no, allowing ourselves to like, why do we teach babies and children that they're supposed to nap, and then all of a sudden one day we're like, no, actually you're not supposed to nap anymore?
But what about sleeping arrangements?
Well, And that's the thing.
You want your baby to sleep in a crib, but then you're an adult sleeping with your partner or husband or whatever.
We don't let them sleep. Yeah, they say you're not supposed to. That's true too.
It's like,
Well, humans are also like some of the only mammals in the world that don't sleep with their babies like huddled into them.
Yeah, and I think that I want to circle back to like even with the retreat, like we're also doing it because I think the decision we made was to stay that extra night and stay that extra day so we don't have to pack everything up and leave with everybody else that is there as well, because we do need that time to decompress.
That way we can like work.
Because we have to and jump right into
and we can like
things.
Work with each other and work on each, like we'll have that time. And also like maybe that's what we needed to remind us that like, hey, maybe if we go to the studio once a week and work on each other, we'll actually feel okay considering like, you know, but that's beside the point. I guess like the biggest thing really is though the small steps and allowing yourself to just convince. We almost have to trick. You know. I've been dealing with a pretty serious injury that has like altered everything, my whole lifestyle, my whole reality, and my physical therapist said to me that I have to trick my mind into believing that it's safe, and he also said. Doesn't necessarily mean it will be actually safe at first too, but I'll never get it to a place where it is safe if I can't believe that it is.
So it's the belief.
It's the mind over matter. And that's the physical healing with scientific background, the physical therapy, you know what I mean? Like that's on the whole opposite.
And isn't that manifestation?
Exactly.
Believing that it's really there, but then
setting the intention.
You have to believe it, but you also have to continuously go to physical therapy. You're not just believing it, so you're taking those action steps within it as if it's already happened.
Which brings me back to my favorite way of describing manifestation: a fact, thought, idea, purpose that we physically bring into existence. No one's saying you just go bippity boppity boo.
Yes.
Here's what I was thinking about. My knee's better. Woo! No, it's okay. My knee, I can do this. I can handle this. I can take it one step at a time. It may not be perfect today. It may not be perfect tomorrow, but every day it's getting better because I'm allowing it to get better because I'm believing I can get it better. Now that's like a physical thing that like, I can actually physically see results for when I'm actually working on it. And it's hard for us to convince ourselves. I know like a lot of people want to see it to believe it, but the thing is you will if you actually just trust yourself. I mean, honestly, I personally have so many things that I set into intention like years ago that I see falling into fruition. I can remember some of the words I said that align up so like, and the thing is though, over the last few years there's been so much chaos, so many things that had me unsettled and unaligned with my own self that like if any of those things came into fruition at that time, it wouldn't have been possible for me to actually like
maintain it or like accept it,
be grateful for it, and like actually
or
like,
even see that it was happening
and roll with it. Like I probably would have just missed it, and who knows, maybe it did come in a couple times and I've missed my mark, and you know it's all about timing. And now like that I'm finally in a different space. I'm looking at it and seeing like, oh, okay,
but and it's also like that. So I like to give the analogy of like the instant gratification that we're not getting because we're in a world of instant gratification. We can have what we want on our fingertips. We don't, like we can order, we can look, we're receiving all this information, we're responding to our phones, all of these things. There's no patience. But also like if you're going to the gym, do you walk into the gym and are like, well, I didn't lose 25 pounds and I don't have a six pack? No, you go. Your intention is to feel better, look a different way. There's plenty of reasons to have better cardiovascular health, to have function in your life, functional exercises, to go to PT, to feel better, to get out of pain. And we are always like, well, I want this and I want it now, and if I don't get it now, then it's fake and it's not. And again, somebody that is actively in this, how many times have I done this?
Oh, we do this like, I wanted to say weekly, but that's not even right. Like it's daily. This is like a daily thing.
Right, but it's also being reminded because I just like you said, I'm like looking back at these things that I've like written down or wanted or, like thought about, and I'm like, oh, I actually do have that. But then it brings me to the space of like how unclear I am sometimes. So it's like, you're like, I want this, and then the universe is like, here you go, and I'm like, that's not what I fucking want. Like, what? Not like that. And I'm like, oh.
But then the universe is like, okay, then do something differently to make it come out how you wanted it. Because realistically, we do have full control. There are human things that are going to happen, like real life things that are going to happen that we can't necessarily control. We can't control what happens to us, but we have full control how we respond to it and how we utilize it in our lives. Like,
right.
And you know what? We are human. Like feelings, emotions, those are all real things. So we also need to accept the like reality of the ebbs and flows of life. Like, you know, how we were just saying, like, well, this happens to us daily. Like, yeah, because we have to realize that, like, just because we have moments where something doesn't feel right or where maybe we're, like, something's a little off, it also doesn't mean we get to crash down and that we failed.
Right.
Because, like, all of a sudden it's not exactly, I mean, that ties into the instant gratification, too. Right. But, like, we're very, very hard on ourselves in that aspect as humans. We're like, oh, how can I was so good yesterday and now today I'm feeling sad. Like, yeah, that's life.
Right.
It's a minute-to-minute thing. Feelings last for about 90 seconds. We're supposed to have lots of feelings come through us throughout the day.
How long do we let that one feeling dictate the rest of our time, life, day, week, month, reaction to somebody else?
But this is the thing. I feel like such a nerd when I say this. But feelings, they can't last. They don't last past 90 seconds, which means, to your point, it's the thought. Yeah, it's the thought of what we're afraid of, what we're worried about, what we're upset about. It's the thought of it that we allow to actually, like, create those other things, like that anxiety that festers, that existential dread, and like it's the thought. It's all in the head, honestly.
So it brings me back to the tradition issue that you were having. Yeah. So I'm going to circle back to the let's bring it back. We're going to reel it back in. Yes. So it's the thought that you're not doing it exactly the way that you wanted it to look or expect. And I can tell you that your child is not like, well, that's not exactly, he probably doesn't even remember last year besides the book, right? Or besides you being there or the intention or you doing something. Like, you've already said that you've, like, at the end of the summer did something and, like, you make your time with him special. So it's like, that's what he's remembering, not that you read a book at 7 p.m. and put him to bed, or, like, you know, these things that we are harping on because we think that they're noticing, but they're really not. I brought up some memories to Layla that I am like, oh my God, I feel so guilty. She's like, I have no recollection of that.
She's like, really? And why'd you even tell me? Because I didn't know.
I know, and I'm like, is it the trauma that it made you lose your memory? And she's like, are you kidding me right now? So it's like, I'm creating those things, but where?
And you're creating them out of a genuine, normal fear as a mother because of, like, the, you know, the guilt that society puts on us, the expectations that you have for yourself. So it's,
but also, I get back with the tradition type thing, because I have created similar but different traditions for my child than I had. But any tradition or any situation, and I'm not going to say every, was followed by chaos and bullshit and a lot of traumatic events. And I'm not going to say every single one, but because a lot were trauma and traumatizing, that I am like, oh, like, so I want to reject all of this tradition, and you have to do this, and you're checking off a box, and you have to see this one, and you have to see that one. And it had I allowed it to take the joy out of creating new traditions. Like, it felt like just something else I had to do, even though, like, the joy of seeing my child having these different traditions. And
that makes sense.
And also, like, the holiday, you can do whatever you want on a holiday. It's like, why? I can do whatever I want with my child. I don't need to make anybody else happy.
I get a good one too. Like, it's like, I mean, the holiday is just the easiest thing to kind of use as an example. I always like to remind whoever's listening to us that when we're talking about a topic, like, it usually resonates to different areas. So kind of like, see what it feels like, what we're saying, what part of your life this might resonate in. Maybe it's not holidays, but I'm sure there's something. Okay. And so, but I'm going to roll with the holiday one for sake of continuity and because it's how I relate. I feel like what a lot of people's tradition is to get together with family, right? Or friends. And you were like, the whole idea of going to a lot of places. And why can't the tradition be something as simple as, like, yeah, you get together with these people this time of the year. Why does it have to be on the holiday? Why does it have to be, like, why can't we just say, like, yes, this time of year it's special, we want to do this, and it can be vague and it can be moved around, and we've set such a rigid, but like to your point, that's also because there's no freaking free time.
Right, but also why aren't we doing it throughout the year? Or like I have
and
to
why
give
is
this
it
person
set
a gift on Christmas and their birthday, and not like, hey, instead of having this like set date, like I saw this and I thought of you, instead of like, again, checking a box and rushing to a store or rushing online and be like, oh, I guess this is good enough.
So many people are just buying things at random just to give
right.
something.
And I another thing that came to me too is like, so I have 2 best friends that also have 17-year-olds. So we have created a lot of traditions within their lives together. So one of the traditions is that we would always go trick-or-treating together. And like there were some years, like early years, that we were kind of like doing our own things, or like, but I would say the majority of the years we would always end up together at some point. And now that the kids are older and have their own group of friends and own things and like, you know, boyfriends, girlfriends, and all this stuff, it's like the parents are still getting together. And then like one of my friends has a son that's 7, so like now they're starting different traditions with kids that are his age instead of whatever, so we're all still trying to come together, but it's like these things are like kind of getting like thinner and thinner, and as parents we're trying to hold on to these things of like, oh my god, like I cannot believe this is happening, which is crazy because it's like we know that they will always come back together, but why are we putting the pressure on that? And also, I'm going to say one of the traditions that I will never let go of, and this is a tradition that is near and dear to me, is every Halloween I scare Lindsay.
I love it.
So
I love that. That's funny.
In multiple ways, but she also knows that she can't scare me back because my reaction is punching and violence.
Yeah.
So I've created this.
Yeah, that's a beautiful tradition.
It really is, and I have to say some of my best work has been in the most recent years, and I will continue this tradition so much that she thinks I'm scaring her all day, and that I have not left her house, or that I'm in her house
hiding somewhere. Like, yes. That's hilarious.
Yes, and one of my favorites, I would have to say, I wish this was on video a little bit more, not to get too sidetracked, was I was actually laying underneath her car.
Oh my god, what if she drove, you lunatic?
I would have gotten out. I knew she was serving dinner at this time, so...
Oh, okay.
We got it to the point that her son had her go out to her car, and I grabbed her ankles from underneath, and I just am very proud of that.
It's a good one. No, it's a good one.
So, you know, why aren't we just doing traditions that make us feel
good? Like, literally, and then if we have to alter it a little, we alter it a little, but like, stay true to the parts of it that actually feel good. Right. And that, like, and it's like also without all the pressure.
Right.
Like, oh, you can't make it to this specific thing. Like, all right, well, let's plan something else then.
And it's like, what people take things very personally. And I've been there. I'm not going to say that I have not been there, but it's also like, okay, can I honor that feeling and know that it really is not personal? And if these things are actually personal in a way, then like, is this relationship for me? And being okay with it running its course or whatever.
Well, that goes back to acknowledging what aligns with you and realizing that sometimes things align and then they don't, or sometimes they don't and then they do.
Right.
It all depends where you are in life, and sometimes like something that worked for you all the time might not work anymore.
Right.
And you might need to pivot. And we have so many people, I feel like, not for nothing, everyone, like one of the known, you know, little phrases we got here as we age, the whole midlife crisis thing. First off, don't even get me started on the fact that most people are going through quarter-life crises at this point because there's so much stress that it's happening sooner. But I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier in this segment, is that like the reason for that is because we like train ourselves to do something, like to follow a structure that might not actually align with us. And like I've said before, maybe it does align for some people, and that's fine. But it's not all one size fits all.
Right.
It's not supposed to be. And the fact that we like convince ourselves to do things a certain way our whole life, and then we realize that we've been like in this fight or flight or freeze mode because of how stressful it all is, and then we're all panicking as we get older because we're like, oh no, this isn't how I want to live.
Right.
But I haven't been taught to live another way. I haven't been taught to, you know, do the things that actually work for me. Like, so what do I do? How do I do it? What is being happy? Like, what is feeling peace? What is actually being aligned with my purpose?
What is pausing? What is stopping? What is not going
Yeah.
and responding all the time.
Ooh, because also, remember a day when like there was literally not even like I won't even go past the landlines. I won't even say a day when there was no phones,
Right.
because we all know about that. I won't even get into that. How about a day though when even with a phone, you still got to leave your house and be out for the day, get your voicemail or your message or whatever after the fact, and respond when you get it and have a chance.
Right.
Now, people are like, I sent this 3 minutes ago. They didn't answer it. Why didn't they answer it? Why didn't they? Do they hate me? Am I annoying? Do they not want to go? Did I say it wrong? Should I have not said that? Do I sound stupid? Did I sound...
Right.
Maybe they're busy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, maybe they didn't have a chance to even read it yet, let alone, like, think about how to... Maybe they read it, didn't have a chance. Who cares? They don't need to give a reason.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to be panicking when we don't get an instant response, the same as the whole instant gratification thing. We are so, like... We are so mentally trained to believe it's like this, that, now.
Yeah.
This way, that way, this way, right now. Only this way. Only right now. Or else it's not going to work. Like,
no.
What?
Right. We're not giving ourselves that pause. Do we actually really want to do it? Are we at... There's... the majority of the time I'm responding in a message, I'm not clear. Or I am like a one-word message because I want to respond. Or like...
Yeah.
That's just like, how I am. And it's like... Can I be better? Yes. Do I try to be better in a lot of situations? Yes. Is it 100% of the time? No. But the people that know me, but it could be very misconstrued of me being mean, me being mad, me being bitchy in certain ways. But also it's like, am I doing it because I feel like I need to respond immediately? Or am I, like, is that just my response? And it's like, things are such autopilot and auto... Because we're like,
you don't even know what your natural response is because we're so like so much on autopilot. Like, it's like, what do I even actually feel?
Yeah.
A lot of us don't know. Like, a lot of us don't know how we feel about things often. Like, we're going through a state of like indifferentness, I feel like. Like, a lot of people are just, like you said, it's robotic. We're just going through the motions. It's all about, and that brings it back to the tradition, okay? Because that's what I was going to say, too.
Because you're just going through the motions.
You're just going through the motions just to get it done. And then it's like, are we even thinking about or enjoying any of it, taking it all in, feeling those moments? Like, last year, I was talking about, like, the transition that Sal had into kindergarten. There's so many events. I wanted to be a part of them all so much. I was working so hard with trying to, like, fit that in with whatever appointments I had and whatever was going on. And, like, it's like, okay, I got there and I got them done, but, like, when I look back,
present?
Yeah, it's like, good thing I took pictures, I guess, but why are we living in a world where we're living through the pictures and the videos either? Don't get me wrong, it's nice to have the memories, 100%, but like, we shouldn't be living through those. It shouldn't be all about getting the picture. It shouldn't be all about, like, you know what I mean? It should be about, like, actually being there in the moment, enjoying it, being able to experience it with your children or with your friends or with your family or by yourself, if that's, like, if you're doing, whatever it is. We put so much pressure on ourselves to have it look a certain way. And it's just, I just feel like it all ties together, too, with that instant gratification because we feel like we need it to, it's like an aesthetic, kind of. We want everything to be an aesthetic.
And then, but it's like, we're in this space of like, as people that are like, working in businesses and using our business, it's like we have to have a lifestyle, we have to have this, we have to be posting this, which is we don't want to be doing. But then it's like, well, then you're not successful and you're not visible and nobody sees you, and it's like this, you're caught in this web of like, where's the line? And it's like with the tradition, where is the line? Where is the line where it's you're checking a box and it's something that you want to do? So I think what the takeaway is for that, which I have had to undo, I keep saying, I was like, I'm not going and doing and being around people I don't want to be around for the sake of other people wanting me to be there. If they want to spend time with me, we can figure out a time to spend. I'm not going to go and be in a place that I'm uncomfortable in, or there's fighting or tension or chaos or underlying things. I'm not doing that, and I'm sorry, but I don't care who it is. I don't care what the relation is, and I'm not going to do that just because somebody thinks I should or for the sake of a relationship. But what is that relationship based on? And
well, and again, that's the boundaries. That's the making choices with what aligns with us.
But like, we can create something different. It doesn't have to be, well, then I'm going to throw that whole relationship away because I'm not going to sit down to a dinner or whatever. Like, why can't we go for a walk or do something else or show up in a different way for each other? And it's like just, again, about checking the box when we're not being present and choosing. Even if it is.
Yeah.
What if it is a 20-minute coffee date when you're not on your phones or like sitting down with somebody and you're present? Isn't that better than 4 hours together in a group where you have zero connection or conversation and you don't want to be somewhere?
Well, I've always thought of that when I watch like TV shows because they do a good job actually at not for nothing. I got to give a general amount of shows credit in the sense of they do paint that picture of like what I wish things were with like we all randomly quickly stopped in the morning for a quick coffee before we all split our different ways. I mean, right now there's not enough time in the world for that, unfortunately. But, like, you know what I mean? You know how you see, like, friends get, something so stressful just happened to me. Like, you and 3 other people were at my house 10 minutes later because we're actually available and able to do that.
Yeah.
And also, I think, so, like, when I look and I see that, those are the type of things, like, that remind me of why I, like, want to build a community and why a community is so important to me. Because it's, like, I mean, they say it takes a village, but, like, also no one wants to actually contribute in the villages anymore.
Yeah.
And I also feel like people forget that we're all going through our own stuff as well, though. I mean, because I've had friends who invited me to things that, like, you know, important events and stuff that I wasn't able to make because I was a new and single mom.
Yeah.
My time was very difficult to manage. I had a lot going on myself. And unfortunately, now I live in a state of being afraid to miss things because I'm afraid I'm going to lose the whole relationship over it because that has happened to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I had friends who I, like, honestly considered myself very close to that, like, not for nothing, I won't go down this tangent, but I don't personally, like, I never really pictured myself doing the whole, like, traditional wedding thing, like, no matter what. Like, but, you know, there are friends where, like, you would think if I was to, like, they would maybe be my bridesmaid. And I had friends who, like, would be on that mental list for me that got married and I didn't even get the invite. And it was the most shocking thing. But also on the other end of the spectrum, it wasn't because I'm like, well, I haven't been showing up.
Yeah.
And I know that we need to show up. But again, this is my point. Maybe there needs to be a balance with that too. Like, why are we putting these expectations that if we can't show up for everything, it means that we don't want to show up or that, like, we won't show up for other things.
Yeah.
Like, we don't give people the chance to make the choice anymore. That's what it keeps coming back to that too.
Yeah.
It's like, and yeah, so, like, I find myself so afraid of missing things now because I'm like, oh, well, no one wants to be my friend anymore because I can't show up. But it's like, I want to show up. I want to support them. So I guess what I'm getting at is that's where we're supposed to find out how to do it in other ways too. Yeah. So, like, maybe you can't go to the event, but you send a little something, like, even if it's a note, doesn't have to cost any money. I mean, you know, like, something special. And honestly, I mean, I tried that. It didn't work for me, so whatever. But
but
I'm just saying it doesn't mean it won't work for everyone. And maybe I was missing something else too, where, like, for some reason it was time to go in different paths when it comes to that stuff, and that's okay. But as a human, it is still a weird feeling. And it's like you see these, again, traditions like a wedding or like a birthday dinner, and you feel like, oh, like, I was supposed to be like, why am I not? And it might not, sometimes it doesn't even mean anything. Sometimes it's not even because, like, they thought they don't want, like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's just.
Right, and sometimes it's us that are letting ourselves take it personal.
Exactly.
Like, oh, but also if I've said no or I couldn't, like, 8 million other times, it's like they know somebody else is going to show up. Like, what? I'm guilty of it too.
Exactly.
For good reasons, but sometimes I just can't. Like, sometimes I just couldn't do it.
And that's what I mean, though, because I feel like I have accepted a lot of that. Like, a lot of those friendships that fizzled out, I can still feel the sadness in my heart occasionally when you think of the good times, obviously. But I'm also like, yeah, I get it. Like, we got to find ways to show up for others, like, if we want to be able to maintain those relationships. And I think what it comes down to, though, is, again, that balance, because we need to, well, we live in, it's a very selfish age right now. Like, people right now are very worried about just them, like, in this world. Like, people aren't often thinking about what will actually benefit others around them. They're thinking about what suits them the most. Like, I mean, I feel like you see it in so many different categories, genuinely. Like, even, you know, going into a coffee shop, even the barista is, like, pissed off that you're there half the time. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a lot of people are fed up with the way things are going, don't know what to do about it, are just going through the motions, and then we're taking it out on each other in these different situations. And I just feel like one of the biggest things about it is just if we could just find balance. It always comes back to that. Like, none of this would be happening if we could just find that balance. Because it's like, if we're not showing up for ourselves ever, it becomes difficult to show up for others. And then it becomes an endless cycle. Then you end up hurt, losing things, like missing out. And it's like, we're doing it to ourselves when it's all said and done. Because, you know, maybe I would have felt a little bit more comfortable setting things up and joining friends if I actually communicated, hey, you know, I'm struggling a little bit.
Yeah. I
need some help in this area. Like, whether it's just a check-in and some emotional support and some validation. You know, I love me some validation.
That's right.
Especially yours.
You just said something really great. But also, like, saying the whole, like, sometimes we get into a place of, like, we can't show up for others, but we're not showing up for ourselves. But sometimes I feel like I do have to be like, okay, I have to use that momentum of, like, well, these are people that are important. I don't want to disappoint them. And then I'm like, oh, like, it was my own thoughts and feelings that were creating this energy. And I'm like, oh, I actually really do like this. But sometimes it's just getting out the door or getting through the door of these things. And I'm like,
but again, that comes with setting that intention for ourselves, where we don't feel guilty about going and doing things we enjoy with our friends because we feel like we should be doing a million other things. And it's like, sometimes, you know, someone invites me out to something and maybe it wasn't because of childcare. Maybe it wasn't because I already had a pre-existing, like, event, but it was just because I'm burnt out. Yeah. Because, like, we're not communicating our needs. We're not trusting.
But also,
like,
we're not taking care of ourselves.
Exactly.
In other spaces. So it's like, we're like, it seems like another thing that we have to do. Yes. So it's having those choices of, like, but also, like, sitting with ourselves and being like, no, we actually do want to do these things. Like, this is not like, oh my God, I have to go and this is all these things. It's going to take so much time away from fucking what? Like, what?
Well, and I think it's because we feel like we don't have enough time, though, because there's so much that we expect to get done.
Time is fake and we create time.
We made it up. And a man made up time. Like, or we actually don't know who made it up.
But again, why are we following rules
but it was made up.
That are made up that we don't want to follow, that, you know, are not like these...
We can go through a list of those,
or whatever, but, like, I'm like, why am I doing that? Like, no, I don't want to do that.
We literally made up time, and then we're like stressed about not having enough time, but we created deadlines. Mm-hmm. We created time and we created deadlines.
Right.
Like, I don't think deadlines are terrible.
No.
If we're okay with, you know, knowing that we might need to shift or pivot or transition things between, like, point A and the deadline itself, or you know, if we know that we might need, sometimes you need to move a deadline, but if you don't start with a deadline for some things, and it's like, how do you ever even get to that point?
Right.
So, like, I'm not saying that deadlines are terrible either. I'm just saying we've put too much pressure on them. Yeah. So I think that's what this is coming back to today.
Pressure?
This is what we've broken it down to. Under pressure.
Yeah, literally.
Pushing down on me.
But it's like, also, we're creating that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. So I think, just to kind of circle back, because, like, the whole point of this is to mindfully break it all down. I think, you know, we bounced a lot of this back and forth. We went down a couple different avenues, but I think what it all comes back down to, a lot of what we're focusing on today, is it's the pressure that we're putting on everything. Mm-hmm. This is why it's hurting us in, like, with traditions. This is why it's hurting us with relationships. This is why it's hurting us with business or personal or whatever it is. It's the pressure that we are choosing to create and put on ourselves, this rigid structure that we believe it has to be.
Right.
And this has been an ongoing theme. We do keep coming back to this a little bit, but I think that's because
it's present.
Yeah, and it's important. Mm-hmm. And it's, like, happening all around us. Even if you don't realize it is, I'm sorry, but it is. Like, if you're listening to this and you're like, no, fine, maybe it's not going in your life, but look around a little. I guarantee you know someone...
But right,
if not, like, many people who are, like, feeling this
right,
way.
Like, we have to work harder, we have to spend more time, we have to do this, instead of actually just sitting and being like, where are we leaking this energy, and, like, where are we giving into these pressure type things? Yeah. Like, I say it all the time, it's like, I don't remember a time, and I know we are different ages, which is really odd, but back in, like, when I was younger, like, kids were doing 3 of the same sports on 3 different teams. Like, that is wild.
There's a lot going on. I was just going to say that, too. I was thinking about how, as a kid, I had a fairly busy schedule. I played basketball. I would do, like, the spring musicals. Yeah. I would, you know, I was on student council. Like, I did some of those things because, like, but also I had plenty of time to hang out with my friends, even after going to school. And, like, so it's like something else is off. Because we were doing multiple things in a day. Now we're expected to do multiple things. Right. Like,
Right, but also, again, it's the pressure, too, of society of, like, get good grades, go to school all day, make sure you do your homework, see your friends, you don't see your parents, you're back and forth, you're doing this sport, but now you're doing this team, now you're doing on a club team, now you're doing a travel team. And then people that have the multiple children, like, why can't we just be? Like, it's nice to play those sports, but again, unless you're being a professional athlete, and even at that point, were these professional athletes doing this? Because look at these athletes that are coming from different countries other than America. I guarantee they're not playing four teams of the same sport
at the exact same time.
No, right.
It's one thing if you want to go seasonal all year, you find a seasonal, you know what I mean? Like, you like your sport so much that once the season's up, like, you want to play in the spring, the winter, the summer, and you find a league. We're talking, like, right now, people are doing literally, like, to your point, like, multiple all at once. Then you got this training, this coach. And it's like, I mean, I personally played basketball year round, and I enjoyed it.
And you were choosing to do that as a child, not...
Yes, and I will say, though, looking back as an adult, I realized that most of my, like, I almost went into, like, a whole existential crisis when I left high school, because obviously I wasn't playing professional basketball. I wasn't even playing...
Don't?
Well, I will, like, with Adam Sandler in a movie one time, but that's like so my skills will come in handy.
Yes, of course.
But I was not playing in college, and so it's like I went from one extreme to a complete. So it's like I'm in high school, going to school every day from whatever time you start to whatever time you end, 6 hours straight. Then I'm going to practice. Then I'm playing my games. Then you get to college. Oh, and I have you're practicing every day. It's keeping me active. And then you get to college, or just that next part of life, if you're not going, like, because wherever that brings you, that's great. But regardless, that next part of life is like now I'm supposed to learn how to structure my day and fit stuff into it. And, I don't have basketball keeping me active every day. Nothing's keeping me active. Now all of a sudden I feel different. I don't feel as good as I used to. And it's like, we don't I don't know. I just feel like we put ourselves into these boxes.
Busy.
Yeah. And then we
have
don't
to
even...
stay busy, but are we giving ourselves or our children those choices? Now we're like, well, everybody else is doing it, now we have to do that, and if they don't do it, they don't get to be on this team. We don't get to be part of this.
You don't want them to be behind, but if they do want to do it.
We can't, nobody's letting their kids be bored and figure out how to do things. Again, I have to say, some kids need to be having those activities, those structured activities, because they are getting into trouble when they are bored, and it's a very different space of phones and that type of stuff.
It also relates to the mental, like, certain people's mental things as well, because personally with an ADHD mindset, I guess that structure being provided to me did help, if I'm being honest.
Right.
And that was a big reality check for me, realizing I didn't have things that I was being forced to do to keep me moving throughout the day.
Right. And I think again, the balance. And as things change and progress, but I'm watching this world of, like, people I know and, like, all of these things, and I'm like, I'm not subscribing to that. No. And then it makes me feel like an alien. It makes me feel like such an outsider that I'm just like, oh my God, so, like, resistant and, like, I want, like, am rejecting all of these things that are going on around me, because I'm like, absolutely not. And that brings me to the next point of, like, I have traveled internationally to a decent amount of places, and then Europe is not a place that I've spent a lot of time. But just from close family members that have, and just seeing how their lifestyle is, how they are slow or a lot slower, how they take the time to have a conversation. They're listening to live music every night. They're not having to be in bed and up at 5:45 and doing all these things, and they can fit all these things. They're seeing their friends throughout the week. They are, having that rest time during the day. They're having that cup of coffee. And even in a place that I have spent a lot of time in, a decent amount of time, like the Dominican Republic. And again, every place has its issues. I understand that. And I'm coming from a place of, like, not escapism, but also where I have been, and that's a whole other episode. But it's more of like, wow, no, this is the lifestyle. I cannot be part of this lifestyle anymore. Now that it's slowing down, my body needs to learn how to feel safe in the slowdown. But also, like, I watched a community of people, like, I watched it. I've seen it multiple times being there, of like, oh, your bike is broken down on the side of the road, or you're going to the beach and it's right down the road. People are like, you want to ride? And they're aren't trying to kill you, and they don't want money from you, and they're just happy
They're just helping another fellow human.
Right.
Imagine.
Right. Or like, oh, I used to stop by this guy's house on the way from work. Him and his wife would always have, you know, like, oh, whatever they have. It's not money. It's, I'm going to give you a cup of coffee, or cacao, you know, like I own a cacao plantation, like let me give this to you. And you're stopping and having those moments. Yeah. And then you're actually like in community, dancing in the street every single night and just happy to be there. Like people are stopping by, you're going to the beach together, and it is a slower lifestyle. And believe me, this is a community that did not have running water or electricity up to 15 years ago. However, very, very different. There are many things that go on in other countries that are, but that is the lifestyle that I'm like, those are the basics. Community, helping each other, bartering, like
providing what you can providing what you can, and like asking for what you can't,
right,
and sharing with one another, like those things. Right. That way we can each actually build each other up. And honestly though, it does bring it back to those two things, those two words we keep using, balance and choices. Right. Because even just now, I was saying, when I reflect, like the way my brain works, like maybe I realize that I do need some of that structure, but I also reject society's idea of what the daily structure should look like. Yeah. So it's tough for me. But if I could just find that balance between building a structure that feels right for me, and then also giving myself the freedom to make the choices to change that and pivot when it calls, or when other things arise, right, or when I need to tend to different personal needs, whether it's health, whether it's work, whether it's whatever pops up, allowing ourselves to set ourselves a foundation. Like, why is it we either have a daily structure and a routine, or we have freedom to do what we choose? Yeah. There is an in-between. We need to find the balance, and we need to make the choices that align with us, and we need to trust our choices.
And we need to tell them. But that it also brings me back, because I will be living in a different community at some point when my daughter graduates, so probably this time next year. Yep. When it rolls around, that I'm manifesting and creating and planting these seeds and moving forward of those are the types of communities that I want to be in. And maybe it's not just one where I stay, I'm bouncing around to others, but also I will be in that community. I will be in those spaces of simplicity, and also not the hustle and bustle.
You know what?
The connection in the community.
I'm glad you said that, because there is one thing that I feel like we should acknowledge here, is we are speaking very specifically from Boston, Massachusetts. Right. Which is also, so there are other places in the United States that are not even that are not operating to the degree here. No, just the fast. Oh, I'm sorry, she just scared the dog.
but New England, quick, busy. The Northeast is known for that. Yeah, and it's in Boston.
Move, get out of the way.
Yeah. And Boston is, comparatively to New York, lower level, but also we're called massholes for a reason. But even if you cross the border into New Hampshire, some spaces aren't like that. You go into Maine, you go into Vermont, they're not all like this. Yes,
exactly.
And it is the time period of life that we're in. But how can we create these spaces? Because now the time period that I'm in versus what you're in with your child is much different. And to reflect back on that is she does drive. So I do have these spaces of time that now I'm oh shit, I asked for this. I wanted this. This is a manifestation that I wanted, and I've never cried more or felt what the fuck more in my life. Yeah. But now I'm at this acceptance space of okay, this is what the future is going to look like in some sort of way. So it is almost weaning me off of it. But it still feels the same. Yeah.
Well, no, that makes sense. A lot of times, we get things that we were technically asking for, and it's almost like a slap in the face, because we don't realize how it's actually going to make us feel. And I think that kind of comes with the sitting in discomfort. Mm-hmm. As long as it's something that we actually realize does align with what we want. Right. Sometimes that discomfort is actually important, because we have to realize that it may not exactly feel exactly how we thought it was going to, because of the real life human emotions that come along with it.
And then it reveals other things that feeling I sat down here one time, and when Layla started driving, and I was what is this feeling that I'm feeling right now? And I'm this is a very foreign feeling. I was am I lonely? I was a bitch doesn't get lonely, okay? Like, I was like, what the fuck? Because I have always been responsive and ready as a single parent, like 24 hours a day, my time. And I have, like, you know, I say no and whatever. And I have had a lot of help, like, you know, throughout the years. So it's like...
No, I feel like I want to shout that out too, especially for those who like are listening that have helped me, like, even with, keep going though, sorry.
And like that space of like, okay, I wasn't like using that, like, I was like, oh shit, like this codependence space, but it was just like a mother-child, like there was like no physical time to even care about that. And I'm like, oh my God, like I do everything. Like I feel like I'm alone. I have great friends and I do it, but I am just a loner person in a lot of ways that I just do. I'm independent. I'll just do it. I'll just go. I won't wait for anybody. I won't like ask anybody. Like I'll just do it because that's what I am used to doing. And then, you know, having somebody around 24/7 consistently, you're like, well, I don't have that time and space. And I'm like, what is this feeling? I was like, what in the... disgusting. What is this? But also like, okay, that's weird. Like now I can be into this space of like recognizing like, okay, maybe there is a space for something else to happen or else. But I would have never, if you had asked me this 2 years ago or 10 months ago, I'd have been like, no. But then I guess in certain behaviors and whatever, you'd be like, well, obviously, you know, like I'm not seeing outside of myself. It's just a different perspective that gives it that space to like illuminate other things that you might not know are there once this manifestation that you wanted or asked for.
Which is funny because it brings us back to how I was talking about the transition in kindergarten and how so many people were like, oh, you know, he goes to school, it'll be easy, like this and that. There was a piece of me that was like, you know, and it's like that living
now
in
what
the
do I do?
Yes, because it's that living in the moment, right? Like when he was like pre those years, like even preschool, I'm like, how do I fit this all in? How do I make it work? It'll be a little bit easier when I have some time during the day, because like I'm not even talking just like professional life. I'm talking home life. Like how do I maintain the household?
Yeah.
How do I get these chores done? And you tell yourself, oh, when I'll have all this free time. Then he goes to school and I'm bawling my eyes out because I'm like, now my baby's big. Yeah. Everything's changing, and it's like that's okay. That's good. Like things are supposed to change. We're supposed to grow and evolve. And like I'm proud of like, and I really enjoy watching my baby grow. But like also, and it's like I want to see that. I want to see him grow and succeed and do what makes him happy. And like, you know, just like be true to himself. And I love watching it. But so it's like that. Just the reason I'm using this example is because like, you know, that's the manifestation, right? We want to see and watch our children grow and find happiness and success and peace with themselves. But then also it's like, we don't want to let them go.
Right.
But we do have to too. Right. But then it's again, finding that balance, because it's like, we don't have to fully let them go. It's not like we have to say bye, never see you again.
Right.
But it's also learning how to accept, like, to that point, because it's like now, you know, he's back to school and I'm sitting here like, okay, I have time. Actually, good example, which this is all props to you. Because this week I was like so ready. Actually, last week I was so ready to set a schedule for this week. And I do believe that while he's in school, I should give myself some structure. But to your point, it's like, why would I have? Why? Yeah. Why even do that to yourself the first day? Like, why not let yourself like maybe have a little? For example, today, this was actually a step towards that for us. Like, we want to start getting used to going into the space and like doing some physical work, like routinely and in a structure. But like,
I mean, I scheduled in crying today. I said I was going to say like I'm not doing that. I can't do that. I was like, I will probably be crying all day. I'm not going.
We did technically schedule this though.
We did.
You actually said, "Come over and cry with me," and I said, "Yeah, okay."
Yeah, that's better. That
makes that makes way more sense. Than
but have we shed one tear since we've been here?
What? Because we set the damn expectation.
Yeah. And do I feel like I'm like it's probably going to come at some point, but like
no.
What I thought my expectation was I was going to be in bed crying all day, even though like I'm not resisting that or rejecting those feelings right now, because I was like, well, it's going to happen. I was crying last night a little bit. I think once I see her when she comes home from school, I'm going to be crying. Like I am doing plenty of crying these days, which is again another space that I have never been in. So it feels very different, but I'm like, oh, okay. Like I'm not carrying those feelings anymore. So it's again the balance.
I think that's very common too, you know, because I used to like pride myself in being like Miss Tough Girl.
Me too.
Like, never cried.
But it was like
now
not
stop
even
crying.
Right, but
I
it was not
can't.
even like I was like stuffing them down. It was just like it was like not there. Like I was like people would be like bawling their eyes out, and I'd be like,
not me, can't relate.
Yeah. Like honestly.
And now I'm literally. How many times a week do you get a call from me now? Like, like
I know.
And
I look at Layla and her boyfriend, and I just start crying, and I'm like, oh, they're like, are you crying again? I'm like, I sure fucking am.
I dropped Sal off this morning, and I started crying, and you want to know what's funny? It wasn't necessarily for any of the reasons you would think it was.
Yeah.
It was because I convinced myself that I somehow failed.
Yeah.
We got to school on time.
Yeah.
I meal prepped food last night for the first time in my life.
Yes.
I've never meal prepped in my life. I meal prepped. You know, he had a wonderful lunch, like well balanced, packed up for him. He was dressed in a wicked cute first grade Vibes Only shirt that he picked for himself, which I was very proud because
really
it was
cute.
Totally on brand for me, and I had nothing to do with that choice. I gave him lots of choices. Loved his choice. It was. But you know what I mean? I got him there. He saw some friends. We got some photos with some of his close friends. Yet I got in the car and I was like, I failed. What? Like, what did you fail in? I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what I think I failed in. I just felt so, because it's a rush. It's a rush to get there. I mean, you know what? I even had a cute little basket I made for the teacher with some stuff for the classroom. Like, what did I fail in? Literally. I even got ready today. I never do that. Like, what? Yet I still, because in my head, I'm like, there's so many things
like
you're supposed to do.
way.
Yes. And I'm like, it wasn't right.
Yeah.
Like, something's not right. But like, what?
Yeah.
What? And then that's not fair because we're putting that energy off on the people who love us as well.
And the children.
Yeah, because there's no way Sal doesn't feel that in me. No matter how hard I'm smiling, reading him, here we come, first grade. Like, and like making it as positive as experience. There's no way they don't feel that.
Right.
Because I noticed that even with my dog, not for nothing. Like, I can tell sometimes. It's so funny because he's not even a registered like emotional support dog. However, like he is an emotional support dog in the sense of like, I literally sometimes realize that I'm panicking or making something out of nothing based off of his energy because I'm like, oh, why is he so worked up? And I'm like, oh, because I'm worked up.
Yeah. Oh,
like you're like our energy.
I mean,
travels,
that's a given thing. It's like the whole like you're at the end of the leash, you're dictating the energy.
Yeah.
And like if you're anxious, I mean, it's I get it. Like if you think that they're going to react in a certain way, you're already putting those expectations out instead of like letting things just happen. However, that's a reflection of our whole entire existence right now. Is like we're putting that whole energy, like even with, I find myself getting like wrapped up in that of like, well, it has to look like this or it's gonna look like that instead of just being like it's gonna be what it's gonna be because it is regardless. Like, and then I mean it's gonna be full of anxiety if that's what I'm creating. So why wouldn't it be? But I feel like I catch myself, but I get snappy. So I get like when I feel like out of control, then I'm like this
I
like
can relate
snappy.
to that.
I'm like, oh, and I'm like, well, that's not that. I just created that situation for out of what? Out of lack of feeling, out of lack of control instead of pausing or like catching myself in that moment. But I'm not always going to do that. But I do have a lot of self-reflection.
We're working on it. It's a process. Healing is a process.
Yeah.
And we're never healed. We're never fully healed. We're healing as we grow.
I feel like I don't love the term, and even in my own business, like healing, because like I feel like that reflects that there's broken or something is not fully, you know,
I can
the
see
capacity, and so I do kind of like I go back and forth on that, but I do understand though it's like just progress of getting
we're supposed
level.
To learn learning and growing like we're like really that's what a big piece of it is, like all of the bad things that happen to us, all the stressful things, we can like learn what it was about those we didn't like, what it is we can do differently to set ourselves up for better situations that don't make us feel that way, like for you know we can learn how to process our feelings.
Okay, so what would you do today differently?
I think the main thing that I would do differently today would be to just really maybe take a couple pictures before I left and not even stress that again once we got there. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you get his first day picture. Why is that not enough these days?
Yes.
It is. And that's all we need. Like, everything was packed up. Everything was ready to go. I was the most prepared I've been in my life, especially because especially as someone with ADHD.
Yeah.
And I don't use that lightly. I know people, like, really talk, but, like, ask anyone who knows me. It's my brain, I battle with my brain on a daily basis.
Right.
And I do it unmedicated, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Depends if you include the plants.
Yeah.
But I do it unmedicated. I totally advocate for people getting the medication if it helps them and if they need it.
It's their choice.
I personally have learned that, unfortunately, I tend to have even worse
Yeah.
experiences so I am literally battling with my brain constantly. So I think what I would do differently today
mm-hmm.
would be to approach it with less of an expectation of what it should look like, and try to like live in the moment about what's actually happening around me.
Mm-hmm.
Stop trying to focus on everything that I've done in the past years to try to make it special, and just kind of go with it. And also see how Sal's feeling, because to be quite honest with you, Sal wasn't really too into it today. He wasn't feeling it. Like, maybe I could have done like a little bit.
Him lead it.
Yeah, like let him like he was like kind of not in the mood to go back to school yet. And honestly, I think that does have something to do with the fact that it is still summer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he knows that intuitively. He's very in touch with his intuition, as you know. So I feel like to him, it didn't feel right that it was time to go. And it's like, he definitely enjoyed like the things we did, or at least from my perspective, he seemed to. But I also feel like it's like, I don't want to put that pressure on him either. I don't want him to feel like we have to do everything the same way, because now I'm setting the expectations for both of us.
Yes.
So I think the move that I would make would be to allow us to, I'd read the book.
Yeah.
But why do I get to try to do everything the same every time?
Like, read the book,
Otherwise.
take the picture. Like, that's a tradition that I've stuck with.
Yeah, read the book, take the picture.
Layla went to school with a cast on her sophomore year, and I have pictures of her crying and being pissed off, but I'm glad I have those memories. Even though she was mad at me in those moments, I was like, you're gonna want to look back on this and enjoy it. Like, but also she was like, yeah, remember when you did that to me? And I'm like, oh my god, I wanted a first day of school picture. And like, that's okay, but also like, especially when they're that age, with Sal being so young right now, like, yes, you can like guide him to those things, but also like, let's make a deal. Maybe some years are not going to be as smooth. Like, I just want a picture. You don't have to do all the other shit.
That's true. Like, just
you want to read the book, don't read the book. You want to read the book, don't read the book. Like
it's okay to pick one thing that means something to us, and not like overanalyze it and like feel like we have to do all the things.
Yeah, like it's okay.
It's whatever resonates at that time during this time.
Maybe he wants to read the book when he gets home from school instead of the night before.
And maybe like he didn't feel like they don't want to do it this year, but they do next year. Like, tradition should be allowed. Like, we can pick, like, you know what? Yes, I will get my picture.
Right.
I want the picture on your first day of school.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to want that. But I don't need to make us feel like we have to do everything else in order for it to be like a successful first day. Mm-hmm. Like, we got a lot, like, today was a nice day. It worked out.
Because we actually did more work than we've ever done together, sitting next to each other when we scheduled and crying. We were like, we're not doing anything. We don't have to do anything today at all.
We didn't set any rigid expectations, and we actually have gotten so much done.
So much done. Like, I mean,
including
not
100
things like completed, but we like looked at something and like eliminated something. Yes. We're like, we don't like that. This is not the direction we're moving in for this. But also, like, again...
Oh, I'm glad you said that, though. Hold that thought, because I want you to keep going, but I want to highlight that that's an example of, like, we may not have finished the task, but we moved forward in that task.
Right.
So we're not going to sit here and be like, we didn't finish anything. We actually, like, checked off a major thing, though, that was holding us back.
Yeah.
And that's something that we don't allow ourselves to do often if we convince ourselves that it's all or nothing.
Right.
So keep going, though.
So I think it's like we went into it, like, that expectation, but also what we're doing is like we're seeing what we like and what we don't like, but also not letting that dictate the rest of everything we're doing. Like, we didn't just go, okay, well, we don't like that, so fuck it, everything else, we can't do anything else for the rest of the day.
Exactly.
Which I do a lot.
Oh yeah, no, that's a real thing. Once it's done, it's like, once it's not, it's like a shutdown.
Yeah.
It's like once it's not
like that functional freeze.
Exactly.
But it's also having that. Sometimes having a lot of time, we get into that like too much time.
Yeah. Well, I struggle with that, like with executive dysfunction sometimes, where those days where like I look around and I'm like, oh, I should do this, that, this, and because I can't do that this way or this that way or this at this time, I'm not going to do any of it because I'm not going to be able to do any of it the right way, and it's not going to come out right. And it's like, well, that's not true at all.
No.
At all.
No, but I also did, while we were standing in my kitchen, take a shelf out that was leaking, that had syrup on it for some reason, even though I just cleaned my refrigerator 10 days ago.
Yeah, feel bad.
But I also didn't let myself start taking every single piece of food out and doing the whole drawers and stuff. I just wiped
because it was okay to do that one part.
Right, I cleaned up what I could see and what was the problem in the moment, and like I did that, and then I moved on to the next thing, and then I was also able. We were also able to eat and feed ourselves. Yay! Before we did something else, and we didn't start something because we would have never eaten.
We ate steak during the day
because we can eat steak whenever we want.
Because like we don't have to wait until dinner time if we want to eat steak.
Breakfast.
We can eat steak anytime we want.
Mm-hmm.
And like we actually people tell ourselves sometimes that certain meals like have to be at certain times of the day, and then we won't eat. Because it's like, if that's what's available to us, we're like, well, that's not a breakfast food. So it's like, how about just nourish yourself with whatever you're craving or what's available to you, and not overthink it.
Right.
Like, sometimes I will literally be like, well, I'm going to eat this at this time, so I shouldn't eat that at the... I'm hungry. So what if, like, what if I am not as hungry for the other thing I was planning on eating later? If I'm hungry now, why would I not stop and do something about that?
Right.
That's wild.
Right.
Or even thirsty. Don't get me started on how dehydrated we are as a whole. You are not even supposed to ever feel thirsty.
Right.
You're actually not. That means you're already dehydrated.
Well, how about I get back to the point of I just had this conversation with my friends and multiple people that I don't even ever remember taking a sip of water as a child. I was like, maybe a water fucking fountain every after.
It is a different day. Yeah.
I'm like, and now I can't leave my house with my emotional support water bottle. I was like,
but it's like you're compensating for it or something.
Probably because I never
supposed to hydrate.
I was drinking out of a hose during the summer. Like we didn't even have water.
It really
like,
is a different world
now. We had Pepsi and Coke and soda and Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
and like the most dehydrating things. So I guess we're probably overcompensating right now. But like a water, but like a plastic water bottle, those didn't exist. I don't ever remember that ever in my whole entire life. Like,
it's funny.
So like what?
It's honestly funny when you say that. It's just like a, wow.
I put it in a group chat. I said, "Excuse me, do you guys ever remember drinking water as children?"
Did they?
No, nobody. Not
That's
one
funny.
person.
That's
not
really
one
funny.
person. Like I legitimately probably drank out of a water fountain.
Well, because we're again like we have like it's just I don't know. We're not. We go through the motions, and we need to be more in touch with what we actually need and what will actually help us. You have no idea how often I'm like, I have a headache, like I don't feel good, and Jack's like, did you even have water
or eat?
And then I get mad because I'm like, yeah, but then I actually like have a sip of water and something to eat, and I like actually feel
like,
better.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, hey, I don't know what you're talking about, but like secretly, like it works.
Yeah.
But oh my god, so yeah, let's just wow, we really got into a lot there.
We did. That was a long one.
We just got into a lot. That was a lot. But I think considering what our heads were at, I personally feel really good about breaking this down with you, because it's like now I can kind of reflect on some of those things that I'm doing to make things extra complicated in my life when we need to simplify it. And I hope that those of you listening do the same. Like, what is it that you're doing that you're making? Think about it. What things are you stressing out that you really don't have to? What can be more simple? What can you do? What? Did any of those words make any sense? I didn't feel like they did as I was saying. That's how like insane this concept is to us as humans, that as I'm saying them to you, I'm like, does that even make sense? But no, really. So pick something in your life. Eventually the goal is to correct all areas of our lives to align with us and feel less complicated, less robotic, more true to who we are. But for now, just start with one thing. And that's what that's all we can do.
And that's going to change as we change and as we grow. That's not going to be the same. So why are we holding on to this older version of ourselves and what worked then that doesn't work for us now?
Exactly.
And it's okay to let that version go and let those things and expectations and those anchors that have held us down and anchored, and we're there for a reason, but where are we now, and how do we want to move forward with that without the expectation? So it's the surrender with detachment, but also the balance. So
and allowing ourselves to feel and feel through the emotions that come with those things.
Right. Like they might feel very foreign.
Yeah.
And what the hell is this? And
like give yourself time to process it and don't just say, well, if I feel this way, that's not right. Next.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. So I mean, it's a lot of practice and a lot of awareness, but sometimes awareness does not also mean the correction of that, and sometimes we don't need to correct it. Sometimes we just need the awareness. But I always say I'm aware but still mentally ill, and that also isn't a great feeling. So we're working through that as well. However, I think like again, circling back to like the wow weekends and the retreats and stuff, like that is where you will see in real time like where you're having these expectations, where you're having this like people could come into it with these expectations and be like blown away. They could have these expectations and be disappointed. You're going to get out of it what you put in, but also allowing yourself to be in those spaces and feel those feelings, maybe communicate them, maybe write about them, maybe take a walk, but give yourself what you need and ask for what you need.
And that goes for every area of your life.
Yeah.
You are only going to get what you put into it.
Right. And it's like sometimes like all you can put in is scheduling and crying, but look at what we did today.
Yeah, and that's the thing though, sometimes like you only put into it like a little less than what you thought you had to, and you end up with an even better result than you thought you could have. So it's really honoring yourself, finding that balance, releasing these expectations, surrendering to like the reality of being a human and the things that come along with that. Yeah, I think that really, you know what? I think this was a good little breakdown. I'm feeling like, I feel good. I'm going to go get my kid.
Yeah, I'm not. She's going to drive.
She's going to come. Yeah. She's going to come home to you, though.
She is.
She is.
Yeah, she is.
It's a little different than it used to be, but it's still.
It's okay.
It's okay. And so, with that being said, I do feel like the biggest things I want to remind everyone as a takeaway from this, back to what we were saying, is it's like, surrendering with detachment from certain scenarios, allowing ourselves to really just trust the process, figuring out what aligns for us, and maybe not giving up if it feels a little uncomfortable at first, because sometimes those shifts are going to feel uncomfortable if it's not what we're used to.
Yeah.
We've been training our brains our entire lives to live one way, and now we're trying to rewrite that script for ourselves. And we do have the power to rewrite that script for ourselves.
We do.
So what it comes down to is just trusting in our choices and believing in that.
And I invite people to just start with one mantra or tagline or something that they want to rewrite. What is this thought or this feeling that you are so attached to, or this expectation, and what is the opposite of that? Where do you want that to be? And that's not an expectation. It's just, how do I want to feel instead of this? Like, what is the opposite of that? Like, I'm so busy, I'm so this, I can't, I have all this brain fog. It's okay.
And just pick with one place to start.
I would like some clarity.
Yep. And start with just one. Eventually, we can start moving up and adding it to different areas of our lives. Right. But just that simple. Pick that one place.
And we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
And we'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear your comments. We would love to hear messages. Like, we really are, we are human, and we are real, and we are messy, and we are chaotic, but we are also wanting to build this community where this is like not just a two-way conversation.
Yes. And I want to open that up specifically right now to say, even if you want us to break something specific down, like, we're all in this together. Like, if it's something that's bothering you, it's probably bothering others and might even be bothering us. So we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
This is about all of us. It's not just about us. We do this because we got to tell them.
We do. We have to tell them.
Well, honestly, I'm glad we did this.
Me
Thank
too.
you for sharing this with me. I'm so
too.
glad we scheduled and crying and somehow got so much done. See, it doesn't always look exactly like what you thought it would, but here we go. So yeah, that's about that. That is this mindful mental breakdown on Mindfully Chaotic.
Right, on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday, because it's a random. This is when we decided to do it.
Yeah.
So, and we can do that. We can set expectations, and we can also pivot from them still get the results that we were hoping to get.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to hearing from you. We appreciate you for being a part of this journey with us. I mean, I'm speaking for both of us, but
please do.
So yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much. And I guess that's really it. We will be back soon with some more mindful mental breakdowns on Mindfully Chaotic. I'm Amanda Marie.
I'm Christina Murphy.
Love and good vibes.
Bye.